welcome to the Onside Kick. Ricky Widmer here along with Mark Weber.
How's it going?
And you might be thinking to yourself for a second week in a row, Ricky, there's a voice missing here on the Onside Kick. Dave Oster could not be here with us this week. He sent me a text. He's like, dude, I couldn't get enough sleep. Work has been really hectic. I think I'm going to have to take off for another week.
You know, here's the thing about that, Ricky. I know last week we were saying, holding on hope, maybe he's fired or something, who knows? But the thing...
Us? I think it was all you, Mark.
I don't know. I think a little bit of it was coming from you as well. We can check back on the tapes, but I'm pretty sure you were saying that. But yeah, I mean, he's not here, so far I see no evidence that he is not fired.
He's not fired or that he is fired?
I see no evidence that he's not fired because he's not here.
Okay, well, Dave won't be with us. We'll be talking Blackhawks Kings. Series starts today in Chicago, and then on Sunday, Game 2, a back-to-back series. We'll talk about how that can affect the Hawks. We're also going to recap the Crosstown Rivalry. I'm feeling really happy. Cubbies bringing home the cup, beating the Sox 3 games. And then also we're going to talk about Nate Robinson in the news. Will he return to Chicago? And then do some NBA playoffs kind of talk and maybe some NBA Finals preview. But Mark, big time in Chicago, the Blackhawks finishing off the Red Wings in Game 7 on a Brent Seabrook game winner.
That one gloved down by Erickson. Builder to head now, and Nyquist, oh my, he's run into by Bolin. Right back ahead comes Seabrook with a shot. He scores!
Amazing right there. Here's the thing about Seabrook. We haven't seen a lot out of him lately. And to get this game-winning overtime goal against our rival right before they leave the conference, Game 7 of the playoffs, it's just exactly what you need to kind of get kick-started because we're going to need it.
Well, and I mean, we're going to get into 2 articles that I found this week from our Blackhawk site, blackhawkup.com on Fansided. Going to talk about their thoughts a little bit and what we think on their articles. And one of them is going to be who needs to step up for the Hawks. But I feel like before that game winner, I was very tense because the Blackhawks should have won Game 7 with about a minute 25 left to go in the third.
It's trickled back on now to Shaw. Shaw holding, nailed it back to Jalmerson. Score! And they are waving it off. No goal.
I mean, really, it's not often that a team gets an opportunity to win a game twice, but you get that game winner pulled off the board, and I was so convinced in my head, there's no way you can come back from that. That is the biggest morale killer for a team.
And what we're referencing to is the Hjalmarsson goal that got taken off the board because Quincy kind of pushed Saad into the Blackhawk bench. And then you had the referee who used to be the vice president of officiating in the NHL wave it off because he thought there was too much violence.
There was so much punching going on.
There wasn't any violence, Mark.
So much violence.
No, there wasn't.
It's just, I don't understand it at all. Like, literally, Saad is laying there. He's got somebody standing over him, not touching him at all. And then somebody comes off.
After the hit, the hit was it.
Yeah, exactly. It was nothing. The only thing that I think maybe he was scared about was, I don't know who it was, but someone off the Red Wings bench came onto the ice and was very close to his head, but he wasn't going to step on his head.
I mean, that could happen, but I mean, I don't know how you can just disallow the goal. I mean, it's kind of like an unfair advantage for the Hawks because we score a goal, but you take it off.
Yeah, I think basically, I don't know, because it's tough, and it's a really bad call, and you knew that you got to feel bad for that, making that call and making that mistake. But all he had to do was, he was very much a prisoner of the moment in that situation, looking straight on. All he had to do was look a little bit to the left, and he would not have called that off.
But I think that the only thing that makes this moot is that the Blackhawks still were able to win the game, and that is the reason why this rant is now over. One of the things I want to look at now, the Kings. We start a series with them today. We're recording the podcast here on Saturday, and I was looking at an article this week on blackhawkup.com, the Chicago Blackhawks site on the Fansided Network, and it's an article written by their editor, Keith Schultz, listed 5 quick thoughts about the Kings. And Mark, his first point, I want to read this out loud because it is so true. He just puts, number 1, they are still the champs when he talks about the Kings.
They are, and you can't deny that from a team. I mean, they went out, they won it last year in extremely impressive fashion, and, it doesn't matter that we won it a few years ago. It doesn't matter that Boston won it just a couple years ago, or that the Penguins won it 4 years ago. None of that matters right now because they are the ones who won it last year. With that being said, though, that was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to do it this year? We see it all the time in sports, first to worst, in a terrible situation, but you see teams that don't get to repeat. It's so difficult to repeat, even to have the opportunity to repeat in the finals. So, that one, yeah, it is kind of a big deal because they are the champions, been there, done that, but all these teams have been there, done that.
See, but I kind of feel like the postseasons from 2012 to 2013 about the Los Angeles Kings, it was different because this year everybody focused on the Kings because, they are the defending Stanley Cup champions. Lord Stanley's Cup is arguably the hardest trophy in sports to go back-to-back in. And in 2012, they were an 8th seed. Going into the playoffs in the West, in my mind, the bigger story was the Vancouver Canucks. You're number 1 overall in the West. You lost in the Stanley Cup last year to Boston. What are you going to do? And the Kings go right through them and go straight to the Cup. And even if you're looking at an Eastern Conference team from last year, there was a bigger storyline with Martin Brodeur and the Devils, who the Kings played in the Cup.
I really liked the story with the Kings last year, but I didn't think they could beat, the Devils. I mean, obviously Brodeur, he's a guy who, it's funny because when you think about goalies, he's the first guy I think of. Mm-hmm. Always the first guy I think of. And then Jonathan Quick is able to get out there and just kind of push him aside and say, nope, not anymore. It's me.
And it's to me, it's how the Kings did it last year. I was reading somewhere, or I might have saw this on SportsCenter, but last season in 2012, every single series I want to say that the Kings played, they went up 3-0. Before getting to the Cup, they only lost 2 games, and that was in Game 4 against Vancouver and Game 4 against the Coyotes. And actually, I'm looking at it right here. They did go up 3-0 on each Vancouver, St. Louis, and Phoenix. St. Louis was a team that they swept last year.
They were an extremely impressive team, and we know that they're a streaky team. So that's kind of the thing that the Blackhawks have to watch out for. You can't let them get momentum. Even if you trade off every single game until Game 7, you just can't let them get momentum. I would honestly say, if we win Game 1, lose 2, win 3, lose 4, I would call that a victory for us because you're stopping their momentum. We're a team that is good at playing behind. Everybody knows that we're good at coming back, being the comeback kids here. Everyone also knows that they're good when they got the momentum and they're going on that streak. So if we can just stop a streak with them, I think that's a victory for the Hawks.
See, I kind of disagree because you say alternating games, you'd be okay with that. Well, I think to last year's series loss against the Coyotes, I mean, yeah, we had that kind of dirty, goonish hit by Rafi Torres. I shouldn't say kinda because it was a goonish hit by Rafi Torres on Marian Hossa. But if you look at that season between the Yotes and the Hawks, Yotes win Game 1, we win Game 2, they win 3 and 4, we win 5, they win 6. So it's I feel like the Blackhawks in this series, the most important part is going to be home ice advantage. We have home ice advantage for a reason, and that's number 4 on Keith Schultz's list on blackhawkup.com. He says, don't lose home ice advantage. The Hawks cannot lose home ice advantage if they want a shot in this series.
I don't know about that one, to be honest. I think that the Blackhawks, if they were able to go Game 6 and win in Detroit on the verge of elimination,
Yeah, but that's
I think
against-
they can win anywhere.
That's against your rival.
But
I mean,
you're going to go against
there's
your rival's home
there's
crowd?
and you're telling me that especially in the Detroit series, there wasn't a little extra oomph just because it was the Red Wings and it was our rivals.
But I think that goes both ways. I mean, the Red Wings just lost in Game 5, so they were getting that home advantage now, and they could say, okay, we're going to knock them out
yeah, but
now.
technically we were going to lose that game until a big third period. A big third period where Hanzus put us on the board, a big penalty shot by Frolik.
And that's the thing, though. We are the comeback kids. You know, we're the guys who can be down, 3-1 in a series and come back without a problem. There's no reason why we can't do that in LA.
See, and I'm looking right now at LA this season, like the postseason. The last time that they had away ice advantage, I should say, or away ice disadvantage, I'll call it, was in the first series against St. Louis. They lost both of those games 2-1, and then swept the St. Louis Blues Game 3 through Game 6.
The Kings are a very good team. I think this is a scary matchup for us. I think, honestly, it's the matchup storyline I wanted to see, but it's the scariest matchup we could have had, honestly. I really think it is, because going on to some more of this article, some of the points they have, his point number 3, I think, is very good. And that's with Jonathan Quick being basically Jimmy Howard, but better.
Can I make one point before you go on to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Kings in this postseason have only won one road game. They are 1-5 in road games this postseason.
But at the same time, they're dominant at home right now. So that's what's keeping them alive. So I understand your thought of we can't lose the home games.
I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. No, I get it. I understand your thought of we need to win the home games because we're going to have trouble in LA. But I don't know. I think the Blackhawks are going to be a different team for them. But anyways, talking about, the goaltending, obviously, that's my biggest concern. And that's my number one right there. I put that at the very top. Quick is going to be difficult. And actually, to be honest, I was a little surprised looking at his numbers. And this is actually not the postseason stats. This is his season stats. His save percentage is at 90. I thought it was going to be higher, to be honest. I thought it was going to be at 92 or maybe even 93, closer to Corey Crawford. Crawford actually has better season stats. But at the same time, Quick has a better postseason stat, even if it's just by 1 percentage point. But still, it's going to be tough against Quick. And I think, though, the advantage that Howard had, he was playing great, but he was being benefited by that very aggressive, ruthless play from the Red Wings that was kind of fueled by A, momentum, and B, the rivalry. Because they're the ones that are leaving.
Well,
they wanted to end on a good note.
And I feel like it comes down to the point, and this is also just kind of recapping the Wings-Hawks series, is did we go down in that series because of great goaltending of Howard or because of the struggles of Jonathan Toews because of Hendrik Zetterberg?
And I think that's a big point. And even another thing that's been mentioned, not actually in this article, it's in the other article from blackhawkup.com, which is for Chicago Blackhawks that need to step up against the Los Angeles Kings by Joanna Loader. And her, basically, one of the points she had was Jonathan Toews and how he does need to step up. And that's something I was saying before, that he's kind of disappeared. We needed him to be the leader. And I think when, everybody's favorite Stash figured out a way to get him back involved in the game, that's really when we started to come back.
Well,
And
I mean,
we need that leader.
I'm going to pull up Toews' individual stats, but just looking at the postseason stats for the Hawks right now, the two main guys are Sharp and Hossa. I mean, Keith's doing well, Kane's doing well. Toews he did a little bit of a disappearing act, and I feel like he got it going in that series late on, not with his play. He wasn't putting points up on the board. What he was doing was being what we want him to be. He's the captain for a reason, going up and down the bench saying, hey guys, we're in this. This is what we need to do to win the game. If I can't deliver, you guys need to help me out. And that's what the Hawks did. They got performances from Michael Handzus, who we traded for this season from the San Jose Sharks just to help us win faceoffs. He gets a big goal in that third period in Game 6. Michael Frolik, who I don't consider him an original Hawk, but he's become a household name in Chicago. He was a trade, I want to say, a year or two ago with the Panthers. I want to say he came over in the Campbell trade. He's become a household name in Chicago. He gets a great penalty shot. He's the only Hawk, or I think only NHL player to have 2 for 2 in postseason penalty shots. And, I mean, that's what Taves does. Taves is going, if he can't produce, he's going to help his team produce.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing. That was something that we were missing from him in that slide that we had against the Red Wings. And that's something that I think if you're the Kings, you know how to beat the Hawks. You take out Taves. That's how you beat the Hawks.
Well,
it's that simple.
Well,
it really is.
And I mean, we only got to this storyline because the Hawks went down 3-1 against the Wings. The only games in, I'll just say the quarterfinals, this is the Wings series, that Taves had a point in, Game 1, Game 5, Game 6. Even before that, look at the Minnesota series. He didn't have a point through the first 4 games. He didn't have a point until he had 2 assists in the 5-1 Game 5 win.
And what Red Wings were able to do so well were to just get in his head.
Yeah, they just got him out of his comfort zone.
Exactly. So if you're LA, that's step number 1, you know? Frustrate the young captain, you know?
Well, and I mean, I see it right here on the stat sheet. Game 3 was the one where they got under his head the most because he took 7 shots, his most of the postseason, and he wasn't rewarded once.
Exactly. It's right there. The blueprint is there of how you start getting at the Hawks. And I mean, I'm not a coach or anything, so obviously, you know, they're going to have other things going on, other ideas of how they're going to beat the Blackhawks. But I really think a good fundamental base for this series for the Kings is going to be to attempt to take Taves out of his comfort zone.
Seeing one of the other names on this article on blackhawkup.com by Joanna Loader, the guy who scored the game-winning goal, the game series win, Brent Seabrook. That's one of the names on her list who need to do a little stepping up against the Kings.
Yeah, it's interesting how you could, you know, really say that this guy who is the reason we're still here right now, essentially, needs to step it up. But, I mean, she's got a great point. I mean, you know, we haven't seen that much out of him so far, and really it's been kind of a thing of the season. We haven't seen that much out of him. So we definitely need more. I mean, I don't really know what to say on this one because he's got that momentum builder, so you can't really discredit him. You know, he's got everything he needs to build up and to play some great hockey right now, but I guess we just got to wait and see if he's going to keep building on it.
See, I mean, the one thing I'm looking at, I mean, yes, him and Letty are the lowest on the team in plus-minus. They both have -5 for the postseason, with the best plus-minus on the team being Hjalmarsson. But one player that didn't make her list that I'm just going to kind of throw out there as a needs to step up a little bit, Brandon Saad. The young kid at the beginning of the lockout season that we had this year, Coach Quinville saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to put you up with the big boys. I'm going to let you play on the Taves Hossa line. And he just flourished this year. Flourished in the regular season. But now in the postseason, it's like, besides that no goal where we said his name, Saad hasn't been doing much either.
He hasn't, but I mean, for the young kid, I guess I'm not terribly surprised that he's having trouble. Hockey, you know, it's a sport where a rookie can come in and really contribute. But when you're up against the greats of hockey right now, I guess I'm not really that surprised that he's having trouble. I think he'll step into it. I mean, it's going to take time for him to get comfortable. Sooner rather than later would be nice for him to kind of get that comfort zone going. But as long as he can be kind of a role player, and I'll be happy. He doesn't have to contribute the way he was contributing during the regular season, and I can be happy with him as a rookie.
Quick wrap up on the series, and then give us your prediction.
For the series, do you want a quick wrap up on the Kings or on the Red Wings?
Just on the Kings-Hawks. How do you think it's going to go, and then give your prediction?
For the Kings, I really think that what they're going to try and do, like I said, is play aggressive. They're going to try and mimic what the Red Wings were able to do in a way. And it is an aggressive team. The Kings are an aggressive team, but they're not like the Red Wings are. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Or if they're going to just, play Kings hockey and not really worry about it. But I think they need to focus on taking out Taves. And for us, knowing that, we need to work with Taves to get him in the best possible situations where there won't be all those big hits, they won't be able to frustrate him. And then the big thing for us is just getting that offense going, because it's going to be extremely difficult to score goals on Quick. It always is.
Well, I didn't let you get to your prediction. I'm just going to throw mine out there. I'm going to say Hawks in 6.
I say Hawks in 5. I think that we're going to have trouble, but I think that nothing is going to spark our flame quite like beating the Red Wings in 7.
And notice what I said, though. Notice what I said. Hawks in 6. Game 6 would be in L.A., where the Kings have been so dominant this postseason.
Yeah, I think earlier in the week, or I guess not really earlier in the week because there hasn't been that much time that passed, but earlier I was kind of with you on the 6. But even though I'm nervous about Jonathan Quick, and I think that they're really going to try and play aggressive, we're used to it now. We already saw that. We know how to counteract it. And I think the Hawks just have everything they need to kind of, I don't want to say steamroll, but really roll through this series and get to the Stanley Cup. Because, hey, you almost knocked us out. We're not going to get knocked out. We're not going to let anyone else put us in that situation again.
Well, it's kind of like when we did last week's live show, it's like our special guest Dave Wahlberg said, Game 5's win against the Wings. Game 5's win meant we weren't going to lose at home. Game 6 win meant that we weren't going to lose at all, and then we win in Game 7.
And that's what we need to go for. That's why I'm saying Hawks in 5. We know what it feels like to almost be knocked out, to be on the brink of elimination, and we're not going to let anyone else put us there.
And now to move over to the Eastern Conference, just a quick thoughts, quick prediction. Pens and Bruins. They also start today as well.
Ricky, you know how I feel about Boston Bruins.
You hate Boston. I don't know why. Tell me why you hate Boston so much.
They're just the punks. I mean, they really are. And I don't like saying that about
Are you saying that just about the Bruins or about all of Boston?
No, not about Boston in general. Just about the Bruins. Because, I mean, obviously, you have your other teams in Boston, like the Patriots, which are the class act and everything. Although I think that's a little, that's an arguable statement. But when it comes to the Bruins, when you think of Bruins hockey...
Wouldn't the Red Sox be more of a class act than the Patriots?
I don't know. People love Belichick. People always love Belichick. He's able to straighten out anybody.
I mean, me personally, I like the Red Sox more than I like the Pats.
I guess. I don't know. I think I would take the Patriots over the Red Sox. But going over to the Bruins, when you think of Bruins hockey, the first thing I think of are those cheap shots, those big hits, how they injure players.
The Lucic hit on Buffalo's goalie, Ryan Miller.
Which is just, oh, man. I don't understand. I mean, we were watching some clips of various hockey fights and big hits.
It was the Lucic hit on Buffalo's goaltender, Ryan Miller. I can't remember if that was last year or their Stanley Cup year.
It's just like
it was November 12th, 2011.
When I think of Boston Bruins, that's what I think of. I think of the guys who go out, and I know I talk about big boy hockey, but there's a difference between big boy hockey and, hey, let's go hurt somebody today. I think when I think of Boston, and maybe it's just my warped perception here, but when I think of the Boston Bruins, I think that they go onto the ice every night hoping to hurt somebody. And there's a difference between hurting somebody and wanting to injure somebody. And I think that the Bruins crossed the line into, we want to take you out of this game.
So you're going to be rooting for the Pens, I'm guessing.
Definitely. Without a doubt. I don't want to see Boston get into the
Why?
Stanley Cup Finals. I don't want to see it. I mean, Boston Strong is a cool little...
Me personally, with that aside, the Boston Strong aside, I just want to see Chicago-Boston Stanley Cup.
I don't. I think... Because I think we see something like that, and it's just going to be a mess. We're going to see the Bruins be who the Bruins are, which are guys who are going to go out there and want to hurt somebody. We're going to see Rafi Torres again. You know? We're going to see that again, but only this time it's going to be a whole damn team. Because that's what the Bruins are to me. I'm telling you right now, if you think that there's something wrong here, go on YouTube and look up the Boston Bruins. You will see clip after clip of Boston Bruins players in various years going out there and hurting people.
I can't remember. Did Zdeno Chara get just fined or suspended for that big hit he had on that Canadiens player? I can't remember who it was. The one where he drove him in where, you know where the glass stops and like the bench starts? Right into that area, and the guy had to be carried off on a stretcher.
I would assume it's a suspension. I mean, I don't know for sure, but that's what I would assume. And I mean, maybe
that was a big hit.
It was a
huge
Chara hit. That's an ending hit.
Tall, like what? 6'9" is Chara?
Yeah, I think it is 6'9". He's a monster essentially, and I mean, that's just. I mean, I'm not for that. I think that's kind of dirty. I think the Bruins players play a little dirty, to be honest. Although people say that about the Blackhawks too, I guess. But
I don't think we're dirty. I just think we're tough.
Yeah. I would agree with that, but I'm a Blackhawks fan.
Yeah, well, we're Chicago biased a little bit.
But I mean, I just think that's my perception of Boston. I think they play dirty, and I don't want to see them go on. I would rather see the Hawks get to go play the Kid.
So, Sid the Kid, how many games does he knock out? I'm not saying the Pens. I'm just saying Sid the Kid, how many games does it take for him to knock out Boston?
It's going to be a tough one. It really will. I would say I'm not going to go as far as 7, but I think 6. They can do it in 6.
Boston in 7.
I don't know. It's going to come down to the line. I agree with you on that, but I don't know if they can take down Sid the Kid.
There's something, you know how I just said what our special guest Dave Wahlberg said on our live show about the Hawks, about Game 5, 6, and 7?
Mm-hmm.
Game 7 in the first round between Boston and Toronto. What? They were down, I want to say it was either 3 or 4-1. They come back. They were down 3-1 in the third period. They come back, a little Boston Lightning, boom. Come back, tie the game, win the game. Leafs are going home. The next series against the Rangers, who had another Game 7 win over the Washington Capitals, Boston demolished them in 5. Went up 3-0, let the Rangers have Game 4, took it in Boston.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know. It's a tough one. I think that obviously... I think Toronto is a tougher team than either, New York or Calgary, obviously. So, I mean, I think the competition level's a little different. I don't think that the Penguins have had to really put forth the kind of effort that the Bruins have had to put forth. And that can be a good thing of maybe they catch Pittsburgh off their guard, or maybe Boston gets a little tired out. I don't know. I don't know which way that's going to go.
Well, Mark, now to move from the ice of hockey to the nice green grass of baseball. Last week on the podcast, we previewed the Crosstown rivalry between the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox. Well, the Cubs came in, and while Game 2 got rained out, the Cubs won Game 1 7-0 as Samardzija gets his 3rd win of the season. Quintana got his 2nd loss. Then on Wednesday, Feldman beat Danks. Danks recording his 1st loss of the season as the Cubs won 9-3. And then in Game 4, Cubs win 8-3 with Jake Peavy picking up his 3rd loss and Travis Wood picking up his 5th win. As a Sox fan, what were your thoughts on the Crosstown rivalry and the Cup coming to the north side?
First thing I need to do, I think I need to take a moment here to...
moment of silence?
To own up to... I declared that the White Sox would sweep the Cubs. So I feel like somebody is... somebody up in the baseball skies up there is smiting me for my hubris of the White Sox because I should have known. I should have known better. We can't hit a ball. We can't catch the balls when they come towards us. We got no defense. We have a couple of pitchers that can play, and that's it. That's all we have on this team.
I don't know if it's nearly the White Sox stunk in this series. Like, they did, okay, game one, they got blanked. They stunk. But you put up 3 runs in Wednesday and Thursday's game. But I was at Wednesday's game. It's kind of hard to beat a team when you have a guy, the backup catcher starts the game, and Deoner Navarro hits 3 home runs in the game.
Deep left center for Navarro. Gone into the front row of the bleachers.
The base run.
High fly to deep left. Viciedo back. This ball is gone. A 2-homer day for Navarro. Deep right, Deoner Navarro, number 3.
Yeah, when a guy is going to go out there and hit 3 home runs, you're done. Just go home. Just stop. Give up. But yeah, I mean, really, it's a shame because I think a lot of people had high hopes for the White Sox. And this series kind of proved, ignore last year. This is the real state of what the White Sox are in.
Mm-hmm. I forgot. Did you guys make the playoffs or just miss by a game last year?
You know what, Ricky?
No, I'm seriously asking.
You can go home.
I'm seriously asking.
You know for a fact that the White Sox were not in the playoffs last year. You know for a fact that we lost that at the end of the season.
Just had to rub it in just a little bit. But I mean, this Cub offense, I think they're the reason why they won this series because not only does Navarro hit 3 home runs on Wednesday, look what happened on Thursday. Travis Wood, the pitcher, hits a grand slam.
Yeah, that doesn't happen ever.
Ever.
But I think, really it was good play for the Cubs. It really was great play for the Cubs. And really bad play for the White Sox. But it's kind of funny because, you got 2 teams that we know it and we can admit it here in Chicago. Both our baseball teams are pretty crappy.
Yeah.
We have no problem. We can go ahead and admit that. But, you got one team that was just playing as bad as they could possibly play, and then one team playing as good as they could possibly play. Yeah, at the end of it, let's remember, we're both kind of crappy teams. Go ahead, take the cup, but who cares?
Well, and I'm going to kind of, being a Cubs fan, I'm going to ask you for permission before I make my statement. Am I allowed to throw a White Sox player under the bus for the Crosstown rivalry? Is that allowed since I'm a Cub fan?
You can, as long as it's not who I think it's going to be.
It's Adam Dunn.
All right.
He didn't get a single hit in the Cup. He only got 1 RBI, and that was on Wednesday, and it was a sac fly. But he struck out 5 times. He played Monday, Wednesday. Ventura pulled him on Thursday and let Konerko play the field.
Here's a fun thing. I'm going to make a little comparison here, and the stretch is basically based on the ownership between Dunn and between Carlos Boozer, because both these guys who we pay big money for and we have a lot of promise that they're going to be great, they're going to be what we need to go all the way now, to complement and go all the way. Neither one works out in their first season they're here. Then they both kind of, are showing some promise. Dunn last season showed a lot of promise. Boozer this season shows quite a bit of promise. What's Dunn doing now? Nothing. Exactly what he did originally when we knew we wasted our money on him. And what is Carlos Boozer going to do next season?
Nothing.
Nothing. When Derrick Rose comes back, he's going to do nothing. This is just bad management of money. It really is. When you pay so much money for Dunn, what has he done? And, no pun intended there, but he hasn't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
Boozer, we pay all this money for Boozer. What does Boozer do? Yeah, he held the fort for a little bit while Derrick was gone, but he doesn't do anything worthwhile when it matters. It's just, I'm mad, I guess, at this whole management side here between the White Sox and the Bulls, but it's just bad. I mean, the White Sox are just in a bad shape right now.
Well, you have Dunn. Dunn isn't expected to be a free agent until 2015.
I know, we're stuck with him. We're stuck with him for a while, and he's not going to do anything. He's completely, he's just sitting there at the 4 spot. I mean, for most often, he's going to be at the 4.
Well, he played the 4 last night in the shutout loss to the Oakland A's. He was in the 4 spot, went 1 for 3, and that's it. I mean, he didn't strike out, but
he's a guy that goes out there to the plate every single time and says, I'm going to hit a home run. I'm going to make everybody love me by hitting a home run, and he never does it. He can't just get on base.
Well, and I mean, just even looking at, I want to look at the White Sox against the A's, and then we'll talk about the Cubs and their big win over the Diamondbacks, but the Sox go out there playing a game on the West Coast. Dylan Axelrod goes out there, pitches 7 good innings. I'm going to say good innings. Gives up only 2 runs on 4 hits, strikes out 7 batters, but he can't get the win because Bartolo Colon comes out there and shuts the hitters down for the White Sox. He only gave up 5 hits, struck out only 3, but he gave up no runs.
Yeah, I don't know. It's unfortunate. I mean, this series, I was already feeling low about the White Sox, to be honest. But this series, I mean, really, against the Cubs, really just kind of cemented my woes for the year. I mean, we got a lot of issues. I think our pitchers are in a funk right now, but that's going to be fine. The problem is that, like I said, it's the same thing that we had at the end of the season last year. Our hitters can't keep up. They don't keep up. I mean, seriously, you got guys, Dunn's not doing anything. Konerko, he's Konerko. He'll be fine. We got these guys, Keppinger, I'm not really that thrilled about him, and I was kind of excited about him. Gillespie, another guy who is not impressing me that I was excited about. Anything that I was excited about in the preseason and spring training are not panning out.
See, I feel, though, I'm looking at the Sox schedule, and besides 2 series against Oakland, good things are on the horizon because after you're done, you finish up a series with Oakland on Sunday, and then you play Seattle, which I feel that if Philip Umber could perfect game Seattle, you guys can win at least 2 out of 3. Then another 4-game series against the A's, which the A's are good. But after that, you play Toronto at home, Toronto sucks. You play Houston on the road, Houston sucks. And then you play Minnesota on the road, Minnesota sucks.
It's going to be interesting. You got 3 series right there, which I'm just going to say it now. White Sox, if you can't win the majority of those games, we've got a serious problem.
And the one thing I will throw out is Sox fans, expect to lose 5 straight between June 21st and June 26th. Reason why, 3-game series against the Royals, then a 2-game series against the Mets.
This team, I don't know what to do, Ricky. You were texting me when you were at the game, and I don't even think I could. I don't even think I responded to any of them because
you didn't. I texted you one, and I will admit, I was being a little bit of a. I texted you while I was on the train heading home, saying, "Go Cubs, go."
Yeah, that was one where I saw it and went, nope. Just put the phone down. Don't even care.
I was expecting something back, but I mean, not a flip over to the Cubs. In our last game that we played on Friday, Cubs get another grand slam. This one's from Scott Hairston.
Seriously, what is going on with the Cubs that they can hit grand slams?
7-2 win over the Diamondbacks. And I'm going to say more importantly, even though our offense has been phenomenal ever since we played the White Sox, you have Garza, 7 innings, 2 runs, 6 hits, 4 strikeouts in, I want to say, his first start of the year, I think.
Right now, it's strange that the Cubs look like a good team. It really is really weird because...
It is, and I'm saying that as a Cubs fan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody expected it. I mean, some people might have expected the Cubs to go out and beat the Sox a few times, but nobody's expecting the Cubs to be kind of this dominant team right now. Where is that coming from?
And I was wrong. It's Garza's third start of the year, his first since May 26th when he won against Cincinnati, and then he won on Friday against Arizona. But, I mean, the offense, I just want to talk about the offense for the Cubs. I posted this on my personal Facebook page as a joke, but it's kind of got some relative, like, some meat to it and some substance. I put, why can't the Cubs play the Sox every game of the year? We'd never lose again. And I said that as a joke, but really, do you think it was the series against the White Sox that kind of got this offense going?
They're definitely feeling confident right now. You know, you got your hitters out there who are hitting with confidence. I mean, otherwise you're not going to hit all these damn grand slams.
Well, you got Navarro hits 3 on Wednesday. Travis Wood, our pitcher, hits a grand slam on Thursday. And then against the Diamondbacks, Scott Hairston, grand slam against the D-backs.
This is a team right now that feels like they can do anything. And that's kind of scary for the other teams in the league.
Yeah, but I mean, it shouldn't be that scary. The only team in the Central it should be scary to is Milwaukee, because then Milwaukee's got to say, crap, we're going to be last in the Central.
I'm pretty sure Milwaukee's accepted that they're going to be last by now.
Yeah.
Well,
And what did I say at the beginning of the year? I mean, we got a long season, but what did I say? And you guys laughed at me that the Cubs would be last.
Didn't you? I
said the Brewers would be last.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah,
I said
you
Brewers
did.
would be last. But I mean,
But you also said the Cubs were going to win a World Series, so.
by 2015, mark your calendars.
Yeah, Cubs World Series, not going to happen.
2015.
I think here's the thing about the Cubs right now. They're feeling great. So Cubs fans, go out there, feel great about your team, because pretty soon someone's going to knock them off the high horse, and they'll be back to normal Cubs.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Milwaukee a little bit ago. The Pirates, the Reds, and the Cardinals, who are currently the top 3 in the division, they shouldn't be scared of the Cubs. The Cubs are feeling some confidence right now. It's great to see them on a 5-game win streak. We'll see if they can keep that going tonight in Game 2 against the Diamondbacks. But right after we play the Diamondbacks, we go 2-game series against L.A., which I'm not that scared about because, I mean, L.A. has struggled. But right after that, we play 4 series, 2 at home against the Pirates and Reds, then on the road against the Mets and the Cardinals.
And that's not good because we all know that you guys have trouble against the Pirates.
Well, and that's one question that I kind of wanted to do a video about, but I didn't, so I'll bring it up now. The Pirates. They're 34-21, 2.5 games behind the Cardinals for the Central. Do they get over 500 this year?
I'll give them over 500. Sure, why
Do
not?
they make the playoffs this year?
No. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they might squeak past 500.
So you think they'll win at least 81 games this year?
Sure, why not?
But you don't think they'll make the playoffs?
No, I don't.
Right now, the Pirates in Cincinnati have a 5-game lead over the Giants for the wild card spots.
Yeah, I mean, it's early. We all know that.
Oh, it's really early,
Yeah.
but I still like talking about standings.
Yeah, so there's a long ways to go, and obviously, you got teams. I mean, you got a team like LA, which is team, you look at them on paper, they should be dominating. So why are they having trouble? They're a team that is going to turn it around, obviously. It's going to happen. Then you got other teams, like the Pirates. I think they're a middle-of-the-road team to where they'll have some good times, they'll have some bad times. They'll kind of be around that 500 area. I think they can get over the 500, though. I really do. I just don't think that it's going to be anything impressive. Don't be surprised if it's, 81 or 82, maybe 83 games,
Mm-hmm. Well, Mark, now I want to move to the basketball world and a little bit of a Chicago news, even though we're not in the NBA playoffs anymore. It appears that Nate Robinson, our playoff star from 2013, has announced that he may be not coming back to Chicago. In a photo he posted on Instagram, I'm amiss the out of Chicago. Gotta talk all the Chicago Bulls fans. Thanks for the best year ever. # hold dat.
And I'm pretty sure there's an emoticon in there too. But, I mean, we only have a little square because we're looking at it on Facebook. So who knows? That might change the meaning of this whole thing. But, maybe it's a nice little smiley face or something.
I mean, I heard this news to me was broke. Like, I read it on PippinAin'tEasy.com, the Fanside Network Chicago Bulls blog, and it just said Nate Robinson says he won't be back with Chicago Bulls next season. And my first thought was, what? Why? Like, I don't know. I mean, at first I was like, why would Nate want to leave? But when you think about it, Playa going to get his money. And 2, he doesn't, like, what he wants to do doesn't fit what the Bulls need from him.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have minded keeping Nate, to be honest, but I'm not upset that he's going to go at the same time. I mean, it would have been cool because he's a good shooter every once in a while. He gets streaky. And, but at the same time, he wanted money. Obviously, he was going to want money. And we don't need him. And I think he knows that we didn't need him. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the season, someone higher up was like, all right, well, thank you for your service to the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice having you on the team. And, like, informed him basically that, go ahead and start looking somewhere else.
See, and I feel like the author of this article on Pippen Ain't Easy, Caleb Nordgren, he kind of made a good point where we signed Nate Robinson to, like, a minimum deal because we're like, okay, we're going to expect you to come off the bench. Once Derrick Rose comes back, your role is going to be even more diminished. But as time and time went on and Derrick didn't come back, that kind of changed. So I feel like if we were going to pay him for what he ended up doing in the playoffs, he would have been getting a bigger paycheck from the Bulls.
I mean, if we're going to pay him based off the playoffs, he's going to get star money.
Yeah, he'll get about $8 million.
He was going crazy in the playoffs, but we're not going to do that. There's no reason to. And to be honest, I'll go ahead and say it, no team in the NBA should give him that money. That's just ridiculous for Nate Robinson.
There's going to be a team that gives him that money.
Do you think it's going to be Jeremy Lin going to the Rockets? Someone's going to be willing to pay big money for a guy who only put up a little bit?
I think that's different, though, because Jeremy Lin, for the whole season, was Linsanity and was a starter, where Nate Robinson, it was only the playoffs, and with Nate, he's a little bit older than Linsanity.
I just think that, to me, we had a small amount of time where, Jeremy Lin went off the rails, insane, got hurt, didn't play anymore. So we only have a small sample, and I think that's kind of a thing with Nate Robinson. We see it in the playoffs. He was the reason that the Bulls were still alive. He was what we had for a little bit. And I think some teams are going to look at that and be like, okay, cool, we can work with that.
I mean,
I think it's a mistake.
I don't see who's gonna sign him.
Nobody should.
Yeah, but who do you think will?
Should sign him, but
who
not
do you
for big
think
money.
Will?
Honestly, I'm not sure. It would have to be addressed after the draft.
You know what I think would be the funny, and this is kind of going to reference a video that I actually did on the Onside Kick channel yesterday. Wouldn't it be something if Chris Paul doesn't sign with the Clippers, and then the Clippers in panic mode sign Nate Robinson?
Oh, that would be a terrible decision on the Clippers' part. Just terrible.
Like, I just want to put a disclaimer. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, what if that happened?
If that happened, that would be a mess. And if you're in LA right now, and whatever time passes, and you got Nate Robinson on your team, switch back over to the other LA team that you were a fan of last year, because that's
Mark
a mess.
basically calling out all the fair weather fans in LA.
Well, what else are they gonna? I mean, seriously, let's be real here. If you're a fan of the Clippers this year, you were a fan of the Lakers 2 years ago. It's just how it is.
But I mean, I'm seriously looking, and the only teams I could see signing Nate Robinson for I'm going to say $8 million or more is, I don't know, the Clippers. If Chris Paul doesn't re-sign, I mean, I could see the Milwaukee Bucks being stupid enough to throw money his way. Maybe the Atlanta Hawks.
The only thing about the Bucks, though, I mean, you got a new coach up on the Bucks. I don't think you can go throw money for them at somebody who had such a small sample size. So I think the Bucks are definitely going to stay away. I
just don't I don't see a team. There's not one team that's like, we could use Nate Robinson and we could win games.
I agree with that, but I didn't think anybody was going to sign Jeremy Lin either with big money. So I mean, I just think that somebody's going to get excited about what they saw and be like, you know what? We're going to bite. We're going to do it. Because why not?
Well, and now let's move over into the NBA playoffs. The Spurs still awaiting who they will play tonight. As we said earlier, we're recording the podcast on Saturday. There could be an answer to that question, as the Miami Heat are only one win away from knocking the Indiana Pacers out of the NBA playoffs. And before I want to get into my first kind of rant about Birdman Anderson, I kind of feel like in Game 5, the head coach in Indiana, Frank Vogel, told his team exactly what was going to happen in the second half. Because TNT played a little bit of his speech in the locker room, and he said, this is not verbatim, but he said along these lines, hey, look at this team we're playing. They have banners up in the rafters because just like us, they are a team that is going to fight to win this game. They have that intensity. And then the Heat come out and have an amazing third quarter and basically blow the Pacers away. To me, Vogel was just reading the future.
In a way, he was, and I think I kind of, you don't really expect for LeBron James to do what LeBron James did in that game, and especially in that second half. He just took it upon himself and dominated, and this is something that we see from LeBron James fairly often. It's something that he can do, obviously. I mean, that's why many would consider him the best player in the league.
Well, right now.
Yeah, right now. But, I mean, I don't know. The Pacers, when it came down to it, yeah, you thought the Pacers could put up a fight, but I don't think that many people expected the Pacers to really beat the Heat. I mean, Miami just...
Can I say that I was hoping?
Yeah, I think everybody was hoping, because who likes the Heat?
Nobody, unless you live in Miami.
And even then, that's questionable.
I find it funny, and of course, this is, if you listen to us, we always bitch about SportsCenter and ESPN, but I mean, I hate how ESPN is now, like, comparing the LeBron now to, oh, well, it's the same situation in Cleveland, except they're winning games, how D. Wade's not producing like he usually does. Chris Bosh is disappearing. And Chris Bosh, I'm going to give him... I usually don't give Bosh credit. I have usually been the one to call him Chris Posh. But when he came out before Game 5 and said, you know what? The rebounding that I had the last game was pathetic. I have to pick it up. A player just coming out and saying that, you got to give him props for at least acknowledging that they played.
I personally, I kind of like Chris Bosh because I think he does do that. He doesn't have... I don't know. He is in this weird role where he's a member of the Big Three, and, when they didn't have him...
He's the baby brother.
He is. And when they didn't have him last season, they needed him, and they lost games because they didn't have him.
The way I've always described it is... This is early on when the Big Three just signed. It'd be like LeBron and D. Wade are the older brothers. They're going out to play ball at the park, and Mom just goes, don't forget your brother Chris.
Yeah. I think that they need Chris Bosh because we saw it. Without him, they struggled, They had trouble without him. They need him to be a part of that little matchup. And, yeah, they could probably find someone to do his job otherwise. But I don't have a problem with Bosh. Personally, I'm not surprised at all to see the Miami Heat going at it, and I think Miami Heat obviously is going to win Game 6. I think that Miami kind of was like, they let the Pacers kind of compete a little bit. They won Games 2, they won Game 4, and now Miami's like, okay, we're done with this. Let's just end this now and go to the finals already. And I don't know. The disappearing act, it's not going to hurt them against the Pacers, obviously. If it hurts them, it's against the Spurs, because nobody on the Spurs is going to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody on the Spurs is playing. They're playing, and they know this is their chance to do this.
Well, before I even ask the question I was going to ask, you bring up the Spurs. Who do you, as a fan, want to see the Spurs play? Do you want to see them play Miami, or do you want to see Indiana come back and have a Spurs-Indiana final?
To be honest, as someone who's a Chicago fan, I don't want to see either one of those teams in the finals. I would rather see Miami get to the finals and bear with all the painful newscasting and broadcasting on ESPN about Miami and see them lose to the Spurs. That's what I would prefer to see, because it'll just be nice to see Miami lose in the finals again. But also because, I don't know, I like the Spurs. I don't want to see the Pacers go in there, and I don't hate the Pacers in the way that I hate the Heat. So I'm kind of hate rooting for Miami to get in there and then lose.
See, I'm doing a little backtracking, and the reason why I'm going to do a little backtracking is because this is what I want. This is my prediction for this year's finals. This is what I want to happen, because you can kind of see it as a spiteful move by me. I want to see Miami win tonight, get by the Pacers, fine. I mean, if Indiana wins, will I be happier? Yes. But if the Heat win, I'll be fine. And I want to see Spurs, Miami, and I want to see the Spurs sweep LeBron again like they did in the 2007 NBA Finals.
And then he can go back to Cleveland.
And who was the MVP in that series? Oh, a guy who's playing out of his mind right now, and Tony Parker.
Yeah, Tony Parker, great player, obviously. But Tim Duncan, come on. Who doesn't love some Tim Duncan? He's the quiet guy who is going to go out there and let his actions on the court be the determining factor.
It's like I showed you before we started recording the podcast. There's a commercial from this 2007 playoff season. Jeremy Piven did a commercial, and in the commercial he says, so he's not a talker. Tim Duncan, he's not going to go out there and talk, but he pantomizes one hell of a low post game.
I just want to see, this kind of flop series end, and I want to see
the flop fest.
Yeah, I want to see Miami go against the Spurs, because I kind of consider the Spurs a real basketball team, and the Heat are just a bunch of guys kind of having fun out there pretending.
And plus the Spurs, besides that series against Golden State where it was just a tough matchup for them, they haven't lost besides that Golden State series. They swept LA, they swept Memphis.
And honestly, here's my thing that I need to say about Miami right now.
Go ahead.
LeBron James, you can never again say that you are not a flopper, because you are. You got fined for it. The league finally admitted that the Golden Boy has been cheating, because flopping is cheating. I don't care who does it. Derrick Rose can go and flop, and he's cheating. I will admit that. But you have been cheating for so long now. We all know you've been flopping. The NBA's just been letting it slide. This time they didn't let it slide. Coincidentally, right after you made a comment about how you think, that flopping is an effective strategy, and that players have to do whatever they have to do to win. And then followed it up by saying, but you're not a flopper. Yes, you are a flopper.
See, and this brings up, I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to kind of start a little bit of a debate where on ESPN, I can't remember who it was. I'm not going to say names if I can't remember who said it, but somebody on ESPN called out Reggie Miller for being a flopper. And looking back at 90s tape, like 90s basketball, that's my forte. I wish basketball could go back to being what it was then. The Michael Jordan, the Reggie Millers, the Patrick Ewings, the Hakeem Olajuwon. That would be my all-star team, the John Stocktons. And I feel like, was Reggie Miller a flopper? No, but he was an actor. There was that, if you go ahead and watch Winning Time, the 30 for 30 on Reggie Miller, you're going to see in that series against the Knicks, he looks like he got hit by John Stark, and he kind of falls back and throws his hands off. But there's one key point. Reggie Miller might have acted like he got hit and stuff, but he never hit the floor. He never fell on the floor intentionally.
And I think a difference, too, is that players in the 90s are actually kind of hitting each other. Where now you see LeBron James.
You could go into the lane, get decked, and that's not a foul.
Yeah, exactly. Now you see a guy who brushes up against somebody's elbow and goes, oh, man, they hit me. I fell on the ground.
They bump hips, and it's a foul now.
Yeah, I mean, just look, and you mentioned ESPN, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I don't know who is to blame for this, but it's Sports Nation on their Facebook page. They posted before, I think it was before Game 5. It may have been before Game 4. I don't remember which. But they posted LeBron's guide of when to flop. And it's a little Photoshop thing they put together that's saying, is somebody defending you? Yes, flop. Is somebody, are you driving the lane? Flop. Is whatever. And everything led to LeBron James should flop with a picture of him flopping. Mm-hmm. And then after the game, because, this is just, I know, you kind of have to do this when you're in the media and stuff, but it just bugs me. That after the game, they post about how great it is LeBron James win. Do you love seeing LeBron, or do you like to see LeBron James win? They're all happy about LeBron James winning now. It's just this funny little, I don't know, you see it all the time on, ESPN and Sports Nation, the flip-flop of, we love LeBron James, now we're going to criticize LeBron James because he did something we didn't like. We love him, we criticize him. It just bugs me. If you saw that on Sports Nation, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't see it, I recommend you go check it out because the flopping one was kind of funny, but then they literally flip-flopped, to going and reporting on that. It just bugs me, I don't want to say pick one side, either love him or hate him, but don't just kind of go back and forth between whatever's popular in the moment.
Well, and that's the thing. I kind of can't stand watching SportsCenter, but I mean, right now for me, besides the Dan Patrick Show, that's where I get my sports news, where it's kind of hard to get your sports news from anywhere else. It's the analytics side where I feel like ESPN as a whole is, I mean, come on, you have a show like First Take, and that's besides SportsCenter, that's your flagship show on ESPN2, really, First Take.
Yeah, and it's the show where legitimately entertainment is what comes first on a show like that. And I mean, in debate shows, yeah, you are supposed to be entertaining. And even in this show, we're hoping to be entertaining.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you put entertainment before your sports,
yeah, but you don't have to be stupid.
Huge issue.
You don't have to be. You don't have to go all Skip Bayless on me.
And I mean, that's the thing too. It's and I mean, we're getting
into a little bit of a rant, but I'm okay with it.
I mean, a thing I think with that. And I am not a Skip Bayless hater, actually. I have no problems with Skip Bayless because Skip Bayless is stupid. He's a character. He is. He plays a role, and whether ESPN said, hey, do this, or he just decided to do it, or it got kind of popular and he decided to run with it, I don't really know. But that's the entertainment business. And the funny thing is, sports fall into entertainment. They do. But I think there's a difference between being a broadcaster and being an entertainer, and he chooses to be an entertainer.
And I don't mean to change subjects, but kind of get off the rant. I have one question for you, and this is the question I want to end the show on. The big three. After next season, they all have player options to either play another year in Miami or go into free agency. I'm assuming this is how it's going to go. They're all going to wait for LeBron. If LeBron says no, they'll all say no. If LeBron says yes, they'll all say yes. Is LeBron going to say no? Yes, I think he will say no. If D. Wade says no because of LeBron, how would you feel with the Bulls going to pick him up?
I would not really have much of a problem with it. I don't dislike Dwayne Wade. I think that he kind of gets a bad rep because he's paired up with LeBron James, and they are friends and everything. But I think people kind of associate Dwayne Wade with LeBron James and therefore villainize him. But did anybody have a problem with Dwayne Wade before LeBron James came to the Heat? No.
See, I mean, I like D. Wade. Would I like pairing up the Chicago homeboys of D. Wade and D. Rose? Plus, I always got to throw love out to the people who were born on January 17th, like myself. But I mean, there's only one problem I have with D. Wade. His knees. And he's in that spot right now where unless he changes his game, he's only going to have 2 years at most. He's only going to have next year and his player option year left in the NBA before he's going to have to retire. Because right now, D-Wade's the kind of guy where he's going to drive into the lane, throw up a floater. Because of his knees, I feel like he needs to tailor his game, be more comfortable with your jump shot, be a jump shot 2 guard. And if he can do that, he'll fit perfectly with D-Rose and the Bulls.
Here's my thing, though, with Dwayne Wade. And I think if you could get him to be, the spot-up shooter, he would be very beneficial. My huge thing, and I think it's kind of the consensus of our podcast.
Plus, he can play defense. Tibbs can make... If Tibbs had D-Wade in his arsenal, Tibbs could make D-Wade and Derrick Rose the best defensive guards in the league.
I just think that, we all say that we need a shooting guard. But here's the thing. You said it. Dwayne Wade's old. He's got issues with those knees. He gets hurt every season. Now, this goes back a little bit to what I was complaining about with Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the Bulls, the owner of the White Sox, allowing the teams to spend this money on players that are past their prime. What do you know the White Sox for, Ricky?
Signing Manny Ramirez, signing Ken Griffey Jr., signing Adam Dunn.
Exactly. Signing guys that are past their prime, and in some cases,
I know
past
there's
their
more,
prime.
but those are the ones that stick out in my mind.
It's just something that we do on the White Sox, and I don't want to see that become the Bulls thing, because it kind of is starting to become the thing the Bulls do as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, is it a good idea to pair up Dwayne Wade and Derrick Rose? Yeah, it probably is a good idea, and possibly is a good idea. But here's my issue. Let somebody else take the risk on those knees. We don't need to do it. We don't need it. We can find somebody else.
See, I don't know. There's part of me, maybe it's because I'm an Illinois guy, but I think what the Bulls could do, should they do, probably not, but this is just a situation that ran in my head. If they're going to go and draft the Illinois guard in the second round, Brandon Paul, this year, if they do that, then go ahead and try to get Wade if LeBron says no, because then you can have a young rookie not just learning from Derrick Rose, but learning from D-Wade. D-Wade could kind of become the teacher to Brandon Paul.
My thought, though, of the big three, maybe LeBron goes. Maybe...
You think Wade will stay just to retire in Miami?
I kind of think I think somebody of the big three is going to stay, and it makes the most sense that it's Dwayne Wade.
It's not going to be Bosh. Bosh is a follower.
I don't know. It's tough, though.
Bosh can't win a championship on his own. He's not that kind of player.
It's the question of who are you going to try and follow? Are you going to try and follow LeBron James, or are you going to stick with Dwayne Wade?
Oh, you follow the best player. It'd be like if...
There's no guarantees, though.
If Michael left the Bulls in, let's say, after his 2 years off, if he didn't re-sign with the Bulls and Scottie was a free agent, who do you follow, Dennis Rodman or Michael Jordan?
I just think there's no guarantee for Bosh that, let's say LeBron goes to Cleveland. Does Cleveland want Chris Bosh? Where is LeBron going to want to go? I don't personally think he's going to go back to Cleveland.
You bring up Cleveland, and I just want to throw this out there. You don't go for Bosh. You want to know why? You go for Dwight Howard this year. Not as a free agent. You try to work a sign and trade with the Los Angeles Lakers, giving them the number 1 overall pick for Dwight Howard.
I do. I mean, Cleveland, have fun with Dwight Howard if you want him. If I were a team, I want Dwight Howard nowhere near my team.
Then you have Kyrie Irving, you have Dwight Howard, you have another big in Dion Waiters. Cleveland's a team that we've been talking about in recent weeks. They're built to win. They're built to make a push. Well, why not go after Dwight Howard? Dwight Howard wants to be the guy. He can be the guy in Cleveland.
I don't know. I don't trust Dwight Howard. We've seen too much of a locker room cancer out of Dwight Howard. He's not willing to play with people. Do we think that he's going to be willing to play with LeBron James? I mean, he might have that attitude of, oh man, LeBron James is the best player in this league. But he couldn't play with Kobe, who's the best player in the league.
Because Dwight Howard and Stan Van Gundy has even come out and said this when asked about it. He said with his experiences with Dwight wants to be the guy.
But he's not going to be the guy.
With Kobe on your team, I understand. Kobe's the guy until he retires.
But see, the thing is, if he goes to play with LeBron, LeBron's the guy. The guy is not going to be Dwight Howard.
I'm not even saying LeBron's on Cleveland. I'm saying Cleveland with Kyrie, Dwight Howard, and who they have now.
Okay, I can understand that. I can understand them going for Dwight Howard without LeBron James. But LeBron James and Dwight Howard's a terrible combination. They're not going to play well together.
LeBron James has proven he's passed the ball off. So maybe LeBron and Howard could work. I just don't see contract-wise how that would be. You have to pick if you're going to try to bring LeBron back to Cleveland, which I think would be stupid. Cut your losses. He screwed you over once. He'll screw you over again. Go for Howard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Part of me, I think that LeBron James is going to stay in Miami.
Plus, this draft sucks. Besides maybe Victor Oladipo and Cody Zeller. Those are the guys that I favor too.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see LeBron James leaving personally because, I mean, what's he going to do? Is he going to go play for the Clippers? Is he going to go play, for the Spurs? Is he going to go play on the Knicks? Like, who's he going to go to? Is he going to go for a team that is kind of set up to win? Because that's what he wanted to do. That's the whole reason he came to Miami was to win.
You know what team he could work with, but it's not going to happen? He could work with Dallas. Think of Dirk. Dirk is a better version of Chris Bosh.
He's going to go play in the team that beat him.
I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying that's a place where I could see him fitting.
I don't see LeBron James going anywhere because it doesn't make sense to me. Anywhere he goes,
it depends on if they win the championship this year or next year.
I really don't think it does. I mean, I think that LeBron James
wants to win
Miami
championships.
Now.
He wants to win championships. He's not going to be I'm going to say it this way. He's not going to be the Patrick Ewing. He's not going to sit in New York and try to win championships, never win them, and just sit his place in one spot. If he's not winning championships in Miami, he's going to go somewhere that will because he wants championships.
He does. I don't know. I think he can attract the players to him in Miami. And since they did the Big Three, what happened in the league? Everyone tried to mimic the Big Three.
Well, I mean, Boston did it first.
They did, but I think they didn't get the publicity about it.
They had Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and then they had a magical fourth called Rajon Rondo.
Yeah, and the only problem with that, or not problem with it, I actually think it's a benefit, they just didn't get the public attention that Miami got for it because of LeBron James.
Or even look at the Pistons. You had, what was it, Pierce, Wallace, Chauncey. They had even more than a Big Three when they went on their title run.
They did. I just think that as soon as Miami came out with Bosh, Wade, LeBron, all of a sudden other teams are going, oh man, we only got two. We need to find a third guy. Everybody kind of thought the third is why you get it.
Look at the 90s Bulls. Greatest player ever to play the game, and I'm talking late 90s. Greatest player to ever play the game in Michael Jordan. I'm going to say the best defensive two-guard in Scottie Pippen. The best rebounder and most hustle points in an NBA career, Dennis Rodman, and a bunch of role players. And, sixth man of the year, Tony Kukoc.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, obviously, it's all going to be determined. Some people at least view it's all going to be determined by what happens if Miami wins a final. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. I could see Bosh leaving, but I think Dwayne and I think LeBron are going to stay.
See, tell us what you think down below. I personally do not think that LeBron James is going to stay in Miami. That's going to do it for the podcast this week. I want to thank everyone for listening. Make sure, a little bit of an announcement, check out Fansided tonight with your host, John Akron, on fansided.com, Monday through Thursday. It's a great show. It's the flagship show for fansided.com. Go check it out on the mothership. As always, I want to thank you guys for listening. Make sure you check out the other Onside Kick videos as well. And most importantly, tell us what you think down below. We love talking to fans about what they think about the sports they love. I want to thank everyone for listening. Tune in next week to the podcast. And as always, have a good day, everybody.